1. This story begins today with my waking up and realizing that my partner is still sick. Was hoping getting a good night's rest would beat it, but alas no. She has a bit of a cold, nothing major, but it means she's staying in bed while I do ye old foot shop this morning. So I get on my plain grey tank top, my good pair of blue jeans sunnies, and some comfy slip-ons as I head out the door. About 8 minutes later, I've pulled up to the nearby Coles supermarket, walked in, snagged myself a basket, and begun the long-ass process of finding the cheapest versions of the items on my list. I don't even get out of the fruit and veg and bread section before I realized that my little old basket just wasn't going to cut it. Dude, they had rustic baguettes for half price. I couldn't say no. So I eyed up and down the immediate area, and there just happens to be an empty trolley back in the heart of Veggie Land, to which I promptly walked on over and appropriate. I guess it might have looked like I worked there for a split second when I decided to crouch down and slide my basket underneath the display stand I found the trolley next to. Too lazy to return it to the front, not lazy enough to let it be a trip hazard for unaware shoppers. Because as I stood back up, this little old lady was already kinda just there. Didn't really see her walk up, but she's just there, you know, like she can teleport. Anyway, she looked at me in all my casual grey jeans glory and asks me,
"Excuse me, do you know where these strawberries are?"
I kind of mentally do a double take because A, I haven't had anyone ask me if I know where anything is in a supermarket since I worked in one over 7 years ago, and B, I certainly wasn't expecting it today. So I kinda got out, sorry, what was that? As I say that, I notice her look past me to my left and then back to me. She then says,
"Oh, sorry, I thought you worked here."
She then walks over to the guy dressed in the Coles uniform, bright red shirt that has the name Coles on it, black dress pants and the appropriate shoes, who was literally no more than 3 meters away from me, and proceeds to ask him for the location of the strawberries. At this point, I realize I'm free to continue my shopping, and for another 10 minutes I do, until down in the laundry section I run into the same old lady again. She's browsing detergents, and I see in one of her wrinkly old hands that she's got 4 pieces of paper, which I then assume constitutes her own shopping lists. In my head I think, oh no, that's a lot of damn shopping. Well, if she didn't mind asking, and I proceed then to ask her if she wants a hand with her lists, as I've only got one myself and I'm just about done. She politely declines and says,
"It's just the strawberries that usually give me trouble. I swear they move them every time I'm here. Sorry about that before, dear."
I laugh it off, wished her luck, and went on my way again. 2. I do my shopping the exact same time every week in a large grocery store. There's a little old woman who usually does her shopping around the same time. She has some mobility issues and doesn't buy much. So after a few times of seeing her having to flag down help every time she wanted something from a shelf above her shoulder level, I approached her and asked if she'd like a shopping companion. It took me under 10 minutes to get everything on her list, and she was very gracious and grateful. Even offered me a few dollars, which I didn't accept, of course. I didn't give this a second thought. I wasn't raised to question whether you take 10 minutes to help an old woman in the grocery store or not. It's just what you do. So next week, when I saw her again, I asked if she'd like someone to shop with her, and she was again very grateful for the help. It became our usual routine that whenever I spotted her, usually every other week or two, I'd give her a hand. One week I didn't do my shopping at the usual time. I worked a little late, and when I came in there was a big fuss at the customer service desk involving my shopping friend and a young man. I started to go over to be sure everything was all right, and hear the young man saying,
"What do you mean no one with that name works here? She had a name tag on. My mom saw the name, right, Ma?"
And she says she did, and the flummoxed customer service kid is saying he really doesn't have anyone by that name who works there. The young man is going, "What do you mean? Did you fire her? She was here last week, right, Ma?" And I realize it's my name, and the potential source of confusion. I go in for shopping immediately after work, and my work uniform is a maroon shirt and khaki pants with a name tag. The grocery store I shop at has white shirts, any kind of pants you want, and a maroon apron with the store's logo. So, a little similar. I go over and she gleefully cries, "There you are! I want you to meet my son." And he started telling me about how grateful he is that I was taking time out of my work to personally help his mom shop. and now that he's in town, he wanted to say thanks in person and give me some money, or at least put in a good word with your manager at the store. So could you point them out so I can speak with them? Not that one, no, that one thought you'd been shit-canned. I explained the confusion, and they were both so touched. It was one of the most poignant moments of my life, and definitely the most meaningful I've ever had in a supermarket. 3. So, some backstory. I was an employee at a little yet popular cafe, Cafe X, in my rapidly developing town. Unfortunately, I got laid off due to the pandemic. Understandable though, it was tiny. I got along well with customers, some of which I know on a first-name basis. The incident occurred at another cafe, Cafe Y, where 2 of my friends work. One of them, Mitsu, is a barista, while the other, Kiron, was a manager. Cafe Y is way more popular than my cafe, so more people went there to get their coffee. I had had a couple of screw-ups while I was working that day and was really beating myself up. My manager, who was worried about me, told me to clock out early and to relax. We all have days like this. Just come back tomorrow with a smile. Honestly, I was annoyed that she didn't trust me to control myself, but she probably did the right thing. Anyways, on to the story now. I was tired and stressed out after being sent home, so I decided to go to Cafe Y in order to grab something and head home. However, I'd forgotten Kiron and Mitsu were working that day, which was a pleasant surprise. It was a slow period of the day, and the 2 were talking together. The moment I walked in, Mitsu joked about how rats in the store are a safety violation. She calls me a rat. It's a long story. I flipped her off, a show of affection, and asked Kiron for some tea. But she laughed and said sure. Mitsu and I sat down and talked while Kiron boiled the water for my favorite blend, green tea with mint. A lady walks in. Mitsu gets up to take her order. As I'm waiting, I notice that the sugar and ice cream section was low. Wanting to help out my friends, I take the sugar out from the cabinet below, refill it, walk back to my seat, and start playing games on my phone. My first mistake. Obviously, the lady saw me and started ranting. The conversation went a little something like this. Cast as me, Toyokazu, Mitsu, Kiron, and the entitled woman.
Wow, how professional of your co-worker there. Taking out his phone in the middle of his shift. People like him don't deserve to work.
Mitsu looks around confused. Ma'am, I'm the only one here. Can I get you anything else? The entitled woman gives her a look like she's going completely stupid.
Are you making fun of me? I can clearly see your co-worker not working.
She points at me. I haven't looked up, but I've been paying attention to the conversation. Ma'am, I don't work here. My second mistake. She turns to me and walks over to my table.
Shut your mouth, you filthy liar. I saw you restock the sugar, and you shouldn't lie to your customers like that.
The funny thing about me, when I'm tired and off the clock, I don't take shit from anyone. My general response is either sarcastic or condescendingly witty. Bad habit, I know. I look up to her, locking eyes. Lady, I want you to take a look at the logo on her shirt and tell me if it matches up with the logo on my shirt. She blinks for a minute, looking at my shirt, then snaps at me.
Don't you talk to me like that, you delinquent. You work here. Now I demand you get behind the counter and help make my order.
I put my phone in my pocket. I don't work here. I'm not allowed to go behind the counter. I look at Mitsu, who nods in confirmation. Ma'am, he doesn't work here. She wheels around, pointing directly in Mitsu's face.
Don't you cover up for him, you little bitch. I saw you talking just a second ago. You're just trying to bail your friend out.
Her first mistake. I immediately get up and walk up to her. Lady, I think you need to apologize to my friend. I'm very protective of my friends, especially people like Mitsu. She can't stand confrontation like this, and obviously would get anxiety from this kind of situation. The entitled woman wheels around to me, shoving her finger in my face.
Is that a threat? Are you threatening a customer? This is unacceptable. I'll have your job.
At this point, Kiron comes out and places my tea on the counter. I don't know if he's been listening to the conversation or not. He just calls my order number. Immediately, the woman grabs the tea and takes a sip, assuming it's hers. Before I can tell her, she spits it all over me.
What is this? This is not my order!
She points at Mitsu.
You are incompetent. I want to speak to a manager about you and your asshole of a friend. Then she throws it away, still screeching. Her second mistake. It's one thing to get mad over my mistakes. It's another to accuse me of your own. Before I can even get a word out, Kieran stops me. I'm the manager here. What seems to be the problem? She gets a triumphant look on her face. The rude employee here refused to take my order, and when I asked politely, he cussed me out and hit me. Then your other employee defended him while also calling me a bitch. She lifted her sleeve, revealing a bruise on her upper arm, obviously from a previous injury or something, because I had not touched her at all. Kieran looked at me with concern. T, did you do this? I can't believe you. My mouth dropped. Dude, you know I wouldn't. But he lifted his hand, stopping me. I need you to come with me. We need to discuss your status as an employee. Mitsu, don't leave either. Make her order, then come back too. He turns to look at the entitled woman. I'm sorry, but after your order is made, could I ask you to wait so I can compensate you for your awful visit? EW has the smuggest look on her face. Of course, I'm happy management here is at least competent. Kieran leads me back into the manager's office. He closes the door, turns to me with a look of exasperation. All right, what happened? Immediately I realized he was on my side and he was using his legendary theater skills to calm the lady down. I explained the situation and he gets super pissed. Not only has this lady berated a customer, but also his employee, which just so happens to be his girlfriend. He begins to walk out, but I stop him. Call the cops. He looks at me, a questioning look on his face. I tell him my plan, and immediately walk out of the room with his approval. I walk back out and see Mitsu shaking, either out of anger or anxiety, I don't know, while the lady is berating her. I walk to her and whisper something. She nods and walks back to the office. The EW eyes me with triumph. I glare at her. I check the screen to confirm something. Yep, I've got my evidence. I sit and wait behind the counter. EW makes a couple remarks berating me and trying to antagonize me, but I ignore her. Eventually, the police arrive. Kieran walks out with Mitsu behind him. The entitled woman's eyes widen in excitement as she realizes that her complaint is getting me in even more trouble than she originally anticipated. Kieran walks over to the officers, asks them to come with him back to the manager's room, and tells the rest of us to wait in the front. Mitsu and I sit on the opposite side of the store to the lady. I check with Mitsu. She's fine, just a bit angry now. The entitled woman can barely contain her excitement of seeing how she got 2 delinquents fired and 1 arrested. A while passes and the cops come out with Kieran. They ask for our sides of the events. EW begins first, painting herself as the victim while accusing me of verbally harassing her and assault, even going so far as to claim I touched her inappropriately. The cops come and ask our side of the story. Of course, we tell it together because we're clearly on the same side. The cops think for a minute, then turn around. Ma'am, I'm placing you under arrest. She stands up, flabbergasted. I'm sorry, what? He's the one who attacked me, pointing at me. Look at this bruise! She rolls up her sleeve again, exposing the bruise. The second officer, with an exasperated look on her face. Ma'am, you do realize there are security cameras in this building, right? Her face goes white as she realizes her mistake. Kieran, Mitsu, and I share a triumphant smile. We all knew about the cameras, of course. They clearly recorded her yelling at us, the lack of me hitting her and her taking my drink, as well as spitting on me. Kieran has shown them the footage when he called the cops back, at my request. When she protested that she never assaulted me, I told her it's assault when you intentionally spit a drink on someone. She protested, saying she thought it was her coffee. Kieran then shows the officer that the lady never finished her order, as Mitsu never entered. The cops arrested her and asked if I wanted to press charges. After the last time, a lot of people told me I should have pressed charges, so I did. She was charged with verbal harassment, assault, theft, and a couple of things like disturbing the peace, etc. She was escorted off the property, screeching at us. We're awaiting the hearing, but I won't be posting about it. She likely won't make a scene considering she seemed to recognize it was a losing battle. I texted my manager later. She asked me for a description of the lady. She then told me that she would make sure that she never sets foot in my workplace either, as that could end up messy for the restaurant. She asked me that the next time to act a bit more professionally, as that does reflect on the restaurant. However, she did agree that I did the right thing and asked if I got my tea. I said yes,
and she asked how was it. I said it was great. It's my personal favorite. Green tea with mint and a pinch of justice. 4. I'm a bit older. I've got grandkids in high school, let's put it that way. So I've been especially cautious about staying home during the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of that has, unfortunately, meant indefinitely cutting out my regular trips to the gym. So I invested in a couple pieces of equipment for my house. I'd purchased them from a local fitness retailer who I selected, in part, because of their generous warranty and repairs agreement. But then one of the machines broke. I called them up, and all of a sudden they were a lot more difficult to get on the phone than they were during the sales process. Wouldn't commit to a repair date, technicians never in, customer service always putting me on hold for ridiculous amounts of time, even though it was a small local store, just endless. Finally, I decided to go over and sort it out in person. At this point, our state was only just beginning to open up, so things like fitness equipment stores weren't seeing a surge of foot traffic yet, and I was surprised to find about a dozen cars parked in the lot. Mostly lifted trucks and jeeps with Punisher stickers and similar embellishments. I figured that made sense for the kind of clientele whose first order of business after a nationwide shutdown would be to get to the gym equipment store. Yeah. I didn't really think much else of it at the time. I was just coming from a full morning of Zoom meetings, so I was wearing business-appropriate attire. Dress pants, pearls, knit turtleneck, the works. I came in and saw a line of buff, meaty guys lingering around a counter, looking as though they'd also just come from work, and figured they too were waiting to talk to customer service. They looked surprised to see me, but I figured it was because most old people are staying put right now if they can help it. I gave a polite wave and otherwise kept my distance. After a few moments, I realized the employees were calling the buff meaty guys by name and taking them into a back office to deal with their concerns, and I figured it was a social distancing measure. So I went over to a guy wearing a store uniform calling names and asked, "Excuse me, do I have to take a ticket or get my name on a list or something?" He seemed surprised too, but again I chalked it up to age. He said to wait a minute. I asked if I should get started on any paperwork. A lot of the other guys were filling things out, and I figured they were claims related to repairs or other information I'd need to provide to expedite the process. But he just kept insisting I wait there. Meanwhile, a more senior guy kept surfacing every few minutes, calling for people to talk to him in the back.
"Brett? Tony?"
But then the more junior guy pulled him to the side and pointed me out. I waved. The more senior guy came over and asked,
"Hi, ma'am, are you sure you're in the right place?"
"Oh, definitely. I've been planning to come down here all week."
"All right, then we can chat right now. You want to come on back? You ready?"
The beefy guys were exchanging some puzzled looks. But I thought it was just because I was jumping the queue. I assumed they were prioritizing me because I was at the highest risk. I said, "Oh, that's sweet, thank you. But most of these men were here before me. I'm fine to wait. Why don't you give me my requisite paperwork and take care of them in the meantime?" But he just shook his head, going,
"Well, before you fill anything out, why don't we talk first?"
And off we went. I sat down in the small back office across from these two men at a desk. It seemed like quite the to-do over scheduling a simple repair, but I figured this was life in the new normal. So they looked at each other as though neither quite knew what to say, and I'm thinking, is this both their first day on the job? Let's get on with it here. Finally, the more senior one cautiously ventured, "So, do you have a lot of experience with the specificities, inner workings, and maintenance of gym equipment?" I'm thinking they're trying to find a reason to put me at fault to void my warranty or otherwise upsell me. So I shoot back the curt but truthful answer. I've been working out every day for longer than at least one of you has been alive. I can look at any model on your floor and tell you what they do, why which features are necessary, versus which features are just extra flash designed to line your pockets. And I definitely know a working machine from a broken one, so I don't even know why this discussion is necessary. Just tell me what information you need, I'll sign what I need to sign, and let's get this taken care of. The more senior guy folded his hands on the desk and went, "All right, listen. I'm sure you're very experienced and do know your way around, but... Okay, listen. How old are you?"
"What?"
There was no universe in which he needed that information to get a repair tech to my house. I was really and truly lost at that point. Was he coming on to me? Was he insinuating that there was no use in fixing the machine because I'd be dead soon enough anyways? What? What could that possibly have to do with anything? You have no right to ask me that. The more junior guy whispers,
Hey, I don't think you're legally allowed to ask that.
So that's when it all starts to click for me. The senior guy, in rank only, he couldn't have been more than a day older than 30, put his hand up in a shut up gesture to his partner and continues. I can't tell if he's trying to walk back his earlier statement or double down on it, going,
It's just that when the clients come in, they're going to have a much easier time trusting someone who looks like them. So it's not so much about age than you're a woman.
The junior guy gasps in pain, dismay,
Bro, no!
And turns to me, switching into professional mode, from night to day in an instant.
What my colleague meant to convey is that we are targeting a certain demographic and...
They ran out of buzzwords with that sentence alone. They realized the situation was getting away from them at that point, as I sat in silence, staring daggers into them, finally fully understanding that I'd walked into a pool of job applicants and been mistaken for one. I said, You realize it's illegal to ask an applicant their age or discriminate on the basis of gender. The senior guy definitely thought he had the situation handled as he exclaimed,
It's not really about us, ma'am. We're trying to keep you safe, you know. We're not saying you can't work here like you're incapable, just that you shouldn't, like, we're doing you a favor by not considering you really. There's really a lot of heavy lifting that's not safe for older people. Your bone density decreases hand over fist as you age. Haven't you noticed that? And you'd be in the store alone sometimes with other employees. You'd be the only woman here. That would be very uncomfortable. For you, I mean.
I wanted to be sure I had my bases covered because I'm lucky to have stable employment. But plenty of my old biddy peers are struggling right now, and it infuriates me to think they're ever dealing with this kind of bullshit. So I went, well, thanks for your concern, but times are tough. And I'm qualified for this position, and I'd still like to fill out an application. The junior guy looked like he wanted to give me one just to make this end, but the senior guy said, firmly,
For all the reasons I just outlined, I don't think that's a good idea.
I'd heard enough. No way this infant sweat stain owned and operated a business, so I asked to speak to the owner. They said the owner wasn't reachable by phone. There was a tray of business cards on the desk, so I picked one up with owner listed on it. While it did only have a phone number for the main business line, it also had an email. So I said, guess I'll just email him then. Now I need your full names. The junior guy just said his name was Ken Lopez. Fine. The senior guy said his name was Brian Smith. I nodded and asked, Hey Brian, why does your shirt say Andy on it? I found his real card and took it for my records. I didn't want to give the guy any opportunities to hide behind those bogus excuses, so as I turned to leave, I continued a final time with feeling, just so we're clear, you're saying you will not even let me apply for the job because you won't consider me based on my age and gender. He tried to stay silent at first, but eventually cracked under the pressure and blabbed,
Look, it is what it is, ma'am.
While his clueless junior counterpart said,
Good luck on the job search.
And tried to offer me a coupon for my trouble of having driven all the way there. I had no sympathy for the junior one, though, because he didn't give me an application back at the beginning when I still thought I was in line for customer service. He took one look at me and got his boss instead to weed me out. So I left shortly after that point and exchanged emails with the owner. I explained what had happened, not only that their people utilized discriminatory hiring practices, but that I had arrived as a customer and no one greeted me or asked how they could help, to such a degree of negligence that this situation was allowed to occur without either even realizing I was a customer. I still didn't get a job application, but that's quite all right. My current employer probably wouldn't be too thrilled to hear I was shopping other offers. What I did get was swift, hassle-free repair of my machine, and a direct number to contact for the future. The owner also later called to personally apologize and informed me the senior guy had been let go and the younger one disciplined. The kicker? The business owner was a woman. 5. Okay. So I work in a pretty popular online shopping store as a customer service consultant. One that shall not be named. Now, this really happens to all of us almost daily, but this one I had yesterday I really think is worth a share. Whenever someone orders something and doesn't get it or returns it, of course they'll get a refund, no matter how rude they are. It's their money after all. This one was a special case, though. A customer calls, and I start with the basic, "Hello and welcome to blah, my name is blah. What can I get for you?" And without even finishing the sentence, the customer goes yelling, "Why haven't I gotten my money back yet? It's been so long," yada yada. I'm used to these customers, but I get so angry every time. I keep my cool though, and I go to the order to check why he hasn't gotten his refund yet. While checking, I saw that he returned the item almost 3 weeks ago. It takes 1 week, seldom 2, to get a refund, and that this was the 4th time he called us about this. The colleagues always told him to wait and be patient and so on. I thought, okay, I'd also be a tad angry with this. But then while checking, I noticed that he paid with coupons. Alright. Side note, coupons here are given either with special offers, buy €50 of this, get a €5 coupon. Either usually they'd be given to the customers from the customer service, us, as a way of an apology or compensation when a package is delivered late or badly, or in general, about other problems. And coupons can only be used one time and they are non-refundable, since they are considered as a discount for future orders. We also have a way of checking how it was given to them. I don't know why the colleagues kept telling him to wait. They either did not see it was a coupon or were avoiding confrontation. I informed the customer that he paid with coupons, and since they're for single uses, he will get no refund. I explain it pretty politely and clearly. He doesn't understand. I tell him that since it's a coupon and it counts as a discount, the item is considered to be a gift of some sort. Since he technically did not pay for it, he won't get money from us. After a lot of explaining and him yelling at me the whole goddamn time, he probably ran out of excuses as I explained the gist of it numerous times. He said something along the lines of,
"I have no idea what these even are. This is the first time I've heard of a coupon."
Bad move, bro. I checked to see how he got the coupons and all of them were given to him from the customer service. And we're obligated to send a confirmation email each time, so I knew this was a straight up lie. He just desperately wanted those €4.45 from us. I proceed to inform him of this and told him that I have numerous confirmation emails in front of me, and I can gladly send them again for him to see. He pretends it's a misunderstanding and that he knows what the coupons are now. Sure. Thing is, I now notice that the customer was actually abusing the system, so to speak, as he'd call for extremely minor inconveniences and ask for a coupon from us as compensation for the trouble. Things like,
"Why are the butt clenchers on your website so hard to find? The customer should have it easy. I demand compensation."
We always leave notes after every call and say what the call was about. So I was reading the notes my colleagues left from previous calls. I was smelling a Karen, except it was a man. A Bob. Anyways, I was getting tired of repeating the same thing, so I basically told him that we can talk all day, but there's nothing I can do as the system won't allow it. Sure enough, that shuts him down and we end the convo. Since he was abusing the system and customer service, I proceeded to report him to my superiors for this, which means no coupons anymore, and we're allowed to hang up if he wouldn't cooperate. Normally, the client has to hang up. We have this dumb disconnect rate that we have to take care of. Furthermore, I actually could make an exception and just put another coupon on his account on that same value, but he yelled at me all the time, so of course he wasn't getting that. The customer wouldn't know this, but I did, and it gave me a lot of satisfaction. Basically, whether we refunded the coupon or not was entirely our decision, and it was kind of an unwritten rule to refund it if the customer is nice and genuinely made a mistake and didn't see it. But if they're bitchy or Karen-y to us, we'd give them the good old "I'm sorry, the system won't allow it." Moral of the story, be nice to customer service. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 103. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I've had to make a few, well, not calls, I prefer doing it through chat on the internet. I have had to call occasionally, customer service people. It's always important to remember the person you're talking to on the phone, they didn't cause the problem you're dealing with. They're actually there to help you. I've been tempted to get grumpy occasionally with them on the phone, but I've always remained calm, even when it's become obvious they're not going to be able to fix my problem and I've just got to wait. Well, always important to remember that you're generally dealing with a human being if they're answering back. Well, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.